Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this online event brought to you by Parkinson's Community Los Angeles. Today we're talking about mindfulness and how you can put it into practice in your life. I'm Julia Nichols. I'm a PCLA board member. And for those of you who don't know us, we are a Los Angeles-based nonprofit serving the greater LA area. And one of the things that we provide for the community is this series of free online educational events. The series is brought to you by our sponsors Abbott, AbbVie, Boston Scientific, Medtronic, and Sunovion. Before we dive in, just quickly, let's review a couple of rules. Please, everybody stay muted. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can submit your questions anytime into the chat feature. Since typing may be difficult for some of you, I will ask for verbal questions from the audience at the end. Please keep your questions on topic. We will try to answer other questions if there is extra time at the end. We are recording today's event for potential posting to our YouTube channel. If you do not want to be visible in the recording, please keep your video off. Okay, I would like to introduce you to our presenter. Our presenter today is Gloria Kamler. Gloria is a holistic educator and stress relief expert who has taught mindfulness meditation for the past 20 years. She facilitates all levels of the mindful awareness practice classes at UCLA's Mindful Awareness Research Center and leads mindfulness-based stress reduction classes and retreats in Los Angeles and internationally. Gloria has maintained a personal meditation practice for, I think we just said, Gloria, maybe 4 decades, and her dedication to living mindfully is an integral part of her life. Thank you for joining us today, Gloria, and I am going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everybody. I just want to put this on gallery so I get to see you for a moment, and everybody gets to kind of see each other. Welcome, everybody. Hi. Yeah, that's good. Okay, we can go back to gallery if that, back to speaker view if that helps. Hi. It's really a pleasure to be here. I knew this was a great organization due to Julia, who's a dear friend of mine, and her heart's always in the right place. And I feel like this is a privilege I get to be with you all today. So thank you for having me. As Julia said, I'm a teacher over at UCLA, and I'm in the mindfulness department there. It's called the Mindfulness Awareness Research Center. And if any of you want to do some classes via Zoom or maybe sometime in person, we'll see. They're just great. It's a wonderful program. So I feel really honored to be able to do this with you and give you a little taste of what mindfulness is about. You probably hear the buzzword a lot. It's definitely one that everybody seems to use. And it's a practice, everyone. It's a practice that we do again and again and again. And we develop a muscle. And this muscle is to help us be in the present moment and be more skillful in how we navigate in our lives. With the many joys that arise, we can notice them because we're more mindful. And when the difficulties arise, we can be more skillful to not make it even more difficult, because we tend to do that. All of us tend to do that. So I'm going to open up a PowerPoint just because it gives me a structure to move through. So let me do some screen sharing with you for a moment. Bear with me. Somehow it's not on there. So let's see. You get to see my screen here. There, and we go to view, slideshow. Okay, everybody can see the slide? Yeah?
Yep,
Okay,
right.
so here we go. Okay, everyone, just to start, we're going to just sit and take a breath together. One of my favorite poems is by Thich Nhat Hanh. I have arrived, I am home, in the here, in the now. I am solid and I am free, in the ultimate I dwell. But it's all here in the now. So let's be here in the now. If you would be so kind just to place your feet on the floor and actually bring some, or if your feet don't reach the floor, just put them on a surface of some sort, of pillow or the floor or whatever, so you just feel some contact, and just let yourself feel that for a moment. Just feeling the ground. I find just using this as an anchor is really useful for bringing me into the present moment. It's quite palpable. You can feel the contact. And in reality, here we are with our feet on the ground, and we get to feel in relationship to all of us. We're all doing this, everyone, right here, right now. And we're going to sit and take a few breaths. So I'm going to invite you to bring your attention either to your belly, to your chest, or to your nose. Choose one place. And we're just going to feel the breath as it comes in and out. You're not going to do anything fancy about your breath. You're just going to be with the breath as it comes in and out. And feel what it is to breathe in, and we're kind of entering into life. And as we let go, as we exhale, we're just naturally letting go. And just feeling that breath some more. And now I'd like you to breathe in and bring your shoulders up to your ears as you breathe in. And on the exhale, gently drop them down and even extend your exhale. Make it a little bit longer. Really empty, empty, empty. And then breathe in again and come up towards the shoulders. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. And on the exhale, really extend that exhale. Make it a nice long one. And one more time, bringing the shoulders up to the ears as we inhale and letting them come down. Good. And then just notice how you feel. It's just a way one can recalibrate a little bit by just using the slowing down of the breath and really extending your exhale. You probably learned many different techniques of working with breath. This is one way. When we extend the exhale, it tends to relax the nervous system. So what is this thing called mindfulness that we're doing today? At UCLA, the definition that we generally use is paying attention in the here and now with openness, curiosity, and kindness, and a willingness to be with things just as they are. And Diana Winston is the head of our department there. And John Kabat-Zinn talks about it as paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And so there's some words in here that are really important in these definitions. And basically how I would talk about mindfulness, it's learning to show up for our lives here and now, because that's really what's happening. And it's learning not to fight with how we're feeling in that moment. Because when we resist what's happening, we tend to tighten, we tend to limit our mind, our body tightens, and we tend to have heightened emotions. So it's really learning to how can I open to the things we like and even the things we don't like so well. Because sometimes life throws us something that we just have to be with and there's no escaping it. Sometimes we have remedies for certain things, but sometimes we don't. So what could be the most beneficial way to move through our circumstances so we don't make it even harder than it already is? And as I mentioned earlier, with mindfulness, we also get to, when nice things are happening and we actually feel halfway decent or something good is going on, we can notice it. So mindfulness can help us with all those things. But mindfulness here is it's paying attention here and now, because in the present moment, when we're really here, we have a capacity to be more kind, to see things more clearly. But when our mind is wandering, we tend to go into a dysphoric state, a state where we're discontent. And this is everybody. This is not any particular condition anyone has. This is just what we do. So we're all learning how to pay attention, and pay attention without fighting with what is. Pay attention and just get curious. Okay, can I be with this, even if it's just for a moment? And so we practice being in the here and now. We practice being open without an agenda, which is very tricky for most of us. Everybody has something they want or whatever, but really just noticing what is, and bringing this curious attention, more like a little kid, that looks at a bug and just thinks it's like the world is amazing while watching this bug. We get to do the same thing in the moment. And then you also see in this definition this word kindness, right? And kindness is when we're in the present moment, we actually activate parts of the brain where we can be more kind to ourselves and to each other, where we have the capacity to be more loving and compassionate for ourselves and for each other. And then this part here, which is probably the hardest part, being with things just as they are. It's like sometimes I want to just wiggle my nose and make things disappear or make things happen. And that's for those of you who are older, you might have watched the show Bewitched, but we can't do that. This is life, how it is. So if we fight with life how it is, we do make it harder for ourselves and also for the people that love us around us. And so this idea of opening to things as they are, we call it equanimity, this idea to kind of open to life as it is and know it's a moment in the road. It's we're learning to surf the waves of life, the ones we enjoy and the ones not so much, in a more skillful way. And we work at doing it non-judgmentally. And judgmentalness is a big part of our culture. So just recognize if you do judge, then you can come back into the present moment and go, okay, can I open to this too, if that's possible? All right. So mindfulness is the training of attention. And the meditation is like going to the gym to learn these skills. And you can take the gym wherever you go. And the gym can be a 1-minute workout, a 30-second workout. It can be a 10-minute workout. For some, it can be an hour workout. And you can see to gain any skills, we have to repeat things again and again and again. And that's why this is called a practice. It's not like you're getting to a goal. We're just learning these skills more and more. And as we learn these skills, they just start to become part of us because it actually works not only just understanding something, but it changes our physiology, which will change how we are in the world and how we perceive things and how we can work with our many challenges. Okay, this is an art piece by your daughter, Julia. She did this for me a few years ago. And these are, thank you, Violet. These are called what I call mental bicep curls. And what you're learning to do is we're training our attention, right? And so typically some people are born mindful. They got the genes and the whole thing and they came in that way. But many of us, and I'd say even most of us, really aren't. But everybody can develop this skill. And with longtime meditators, they even see that it creates more gray matter and new pathways, and a whole different thing can happen with our brain, which then will happen with our functioning. And you can do it too. And we can do it in short snippets, micro moments, and we can also do it for longer periods of time. But regarding how that works for you. But these mental bicep curls are a way to really work this muscle of being present. And so I'm going to be teaching you some meditation. We'll do a meditation today where you're going to focus on something. We're going to call that our anchor. And what's going to happen is really quickly, I promise you, your mind is going to go off somewhere. And you're going to start thinking about what you have to do today, or who knows, or what you're having for lunch, or something that happened yesterday, or something will come up. It just does for everybody, the best of meditators. And as soon as you realize you're someplace else, that's a great moment because you've now woken up again. Because mindfulness is about being awake for this life that we're having. And so when you realize your mind is either caught in thought or wandering, you then take the initiative to come back. This is where you create effort. Know that it's just a given that your mind's going to go somewhere. But when you notice, as soon as you notice that it's gone somewhere, your job is not to berate yourself. You can celebrate yourself. You've woken up. So it's actually a celebration rather than I'm not doing it right. Okay. And so then you just bring your mind back. And we're going to keep doing this again and again. And as you saw, the athletes, the musicians, the writers, they all had to repeat these skills again and again and again to get good at it. You're going to have to do the same thing. I have to do the same thing after many, many years of doing it. You just keep doing it again and again. And it just normalizes you that we tend to space out. We tend to think. We tend to go to those places. It's just how it is. So this mindfulness is about we gain the skills to focus our attention, and that's really it's a I don't know. It feels very powerful when I know I can do that. That I have a choice and I can do that. And so, as it says here, we might select a simple object. So you've heard about meditating on the breath. We just did that, right? It was our focus that we had. You can meditate on the body. You can meditate on listening to sound. There's many different ways to do it. So we select a particular focus. And what this does is it really helps in this meditation is very stabilizing. It helps in directing our attention, sustaining our attention. We also are learning to detect when you're being pulled off. And then sometimes we even notice when we're absorbed in we're already gone and we're in some story, but we start to notice it. And then we have the skill. Remember, I said you can come back. And that's what you're learning to do, to make the effort to return so we can gently redirect our attention to here. And the other major skill we're going to learn that we do learn as we do this practice is equanimity. And that's being with things as they are rather than always having to rearrange everything. Nobody wants to feel crummy or a situation comes our way that we don't like. And most people's reaction is, you just want to get away from it. So you either distract yourself or get involved with something else, or we ruminated a lot about it, which makes it even harder. So with equanimity, we're learning to stop fighting with what's here, resisting what's here, and just feel it for the moment. So we start to relax the muscles a little bit. Feel our feet on the ground, open up a little space and relax these muscles, relax our mind a little bit, and breathe with. Maybe it will be unpleasant, but it will be a moment in time. Okay, so here's the conceptual model of why we do these two particular skills. Okay, with mindfulness, it really is about being in the present moment. Even when you're having a hard time in the present moment, when you're really here and you slow it down and you breathe with it, it generally is more relaxing. And we also have a sense of, hey, I can be with myself for whatever is arising, right? And so in present moment awareness, we tend to have more alertness, clarity, and stability, which for me is very helpful. And the other skill we're doing is to be more equanimous. It tends to create when we're not fighting with what's happening and we sort of relax around what's happening and create some space for what's happening, pleasant or unpleasant. There tends to be more ease, momentary acceptance of what is, and this non-compulsion where we're just driven by all this stuff in our minds. Okay. So there are many benefits of mindfulness and of physical benefits, emotional benefits, and mental capacities here. These are slides that I just do for generally when I give talks. So definitely mindfulness is known to be really helpful with stress-related illnesses or conditions that exist. And so our immune system, working with pain, working with people who have trouble with sleeping, high blood pressure, it tends to lower it. And in terms of Parkinson's, what many of you might be experiencing in that there's a whole range of symptoms and things that you might be having. I was looking up some of the research that I could find. There's not tons of mindfulness studies yet in Parkinson's. There are a few. I saw about 5 different ones, and they all had between 30 to 80 some participants in these studies. So it's really tiny and it's more in the infancy stage of discovery. But what I will tell you about this in regard to the physicalness, people that really do practice every day They know that there's an 8-week program that they use in these studies. It's called mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's a John Kabat-Zinn program that I've been teaching it forever. Anyway, the idea of that program is that you're doing mindfulness practice every day, little by little. And they found that there are even new neural pathways that are developed when we have mindfulness, which means, and you'll see I have another slide with that. The idea of this is that new capacities can arise when we're not constantly embroiled in reactivity. We can actually learn to have more response to our conditions that we have. So, they did find that people in the Parkinson's community over time doing practice even got new pathways to light up parts of our brain that can be more resourceful for us. And in this one, people tend to be more resilient and happier. And this is across the board for the few studies that I was able to read about. This was pretty consistent that they talked about how people, participants in the study compared to the control group that were able to experience this 8-week training in mindfulness called mindfulness-based stress reduction. It helped participants cope better with their emotions related to Parkinson's disease, which is really helpful because sometimes when we just really have a hard time being with our body the way it is or being with and our mind just gets upset and we don't have skillful ways of dealing with it. But they notice that people that have done these trainings, these 8-week courses, and really learned kind of how to apply the practice, people tended to be less depressed and felt more resourced. Um, they were able to deal with their stress better and their depression better. And even there was one study, it was only about 14 people in this study, but what they found was they found that there was less stress for these people and depression and improved cognitive and motor function, which I thought was interesting. But as I said, these are just in the infancy stages, but it definitely is encouraging that maybe this might be worth doing it for you. But what I can tell you, because I've now been teaching this particular course for 26 or 7 years, something like that, a long time. And the one thing that I've noticed before they were even able to do studies on it, what I kept seeing in each course was that people that had chronic illness conditions felt empowered after learning some mindfulness practice that really did it more rigorously every day. They felt empowered that they could deal with when the different sensations arose or their mind went into a certain place, they could work with this more skillfully, which so I felt people felt the words here are resilient and happier, but empowered would be a good word too, to be able to be an advocate for yourself, to choose, okay, all right, I'm going to just do this now. I'm going to come back into the present moment. And you gain some skills to really actually work with situations that can be really, really hard. And what they've seen in at least a couple of these studies, they check people out a year later or 18 months later, and they found that they still had the skills and they were still having the benefits of the practice. So encouragement to keep going, right? So typically, everyone, this is our fight, flight, and freeze here. Here we're at the amygdala. And the more we react to life, where we're just, many of you, maybe you can relate to this. I can sometimes relate to this with COVID, of just walking around anxious, looking to see is it safe? Is it safe? And I'm sure a lot of people this year went through that around COVID, but a lot of us do that without COVID, just not really feeling safe inside one's body and mind. And so the more that what fires together wires together. So the more reactive we are, the more the more reactive we are, the more dysphoric, the more this is what gets imprinted in the brain. But what happens is when you come into present moment time, it lights up these parts of our brain. And I'm not going to get into the brain function here, but basically this gives us skills to be more self-regulating, to have a sense of what's going on for us, to have a sense to have some calm, and to also be more caring and compassionate for ourselves and each other. Let's see. So some of these, what helps to develop the skills of focusing, memory, clarity, and calm, and what's called emotional intelligence. And it's really important that we know what's going on because then we can figure out how to proceed. What do I need? Or what does that other person need? When we have a sense of that, when we're not just caught in our stories, but we can actually see what's coming up right now. So we can actually be more skillful to help ourselves, right? All right. So these are the ways we do this practice. You can do it sitting. I haven't done it on a cushion in a really long time, I got to tell you. I miss it, but I think I'm past the days of sitting on the floor. But this is more the posture that I take. So we can do this sitting. We can also do this lying down. If you ever do have the opportunity to take one of the meditation classes, this is one of the ways you can do it. And we can also do it stretching, walking. There's many different practices we can do because mindfulness is about showing up for our life and not resisting it, opening, letting go of the fight, and we do it moment by moment. We also can do mindfulness in just our daily activities. And at the end of this presentation, we'll talk a little bit more about this because this is a really great way to have a micro hit of really being present, something you're interested in, and you get to kind of slow it down a little bit. And that will help build those pathways to this part of our brain where we can be more resourced. Okay. All right, this is not where I want to be. So let me go back for a moment. And I think what I'd like to do with you right now is I'd like to do a meditation. We'll do this for a few minutes, and um, so let's begin. So how we're going to do this, everyone, is you're going to kind of come into your seat. So however that is for you, and if you're not able to sit and you need to stand, no, you can do it standing. And if you're not able to sit or stand and you need to lie down, you can do that. The tricky part about lying down, everyone, is that we tend to associate it with sleeping. So if you do decide to lie down and have your eyes just open and you can do a soft gaze through the ceiling, okay? Not to look to see what's wrong with your ceiling, but just a soft gaze to the ceiling if you need to lie down. But I invite most of you, if you're able to just sit, okay? Maybe we'll even go back to that slide. Okay, so here we are sitting. So let's begin. I'm going to ring a bell, and then I'm going to ring a bell to end. Sitting in a way where you feel awake. Mindfulness is about waking up to our life the way it is and kind of embracing it and opening to the joys and the sorrows of whatever is to arise. So we begin by sitting in a posture where we feel astute and at the same time relaxed. I like to begin by just feeling my feet on the ground. So if it's possible to have your feet on some kind of surface, and just let yourself feel this. Mindfulness, remember, is about this attention, the stabilizing attention. And remember, if it goes off somewhere, no problem. When you realize you're someplace else, just come back. So let's just feel our feet right now and notice what you notice. Mindfulness is bringing that curiosity, that openness to whatever the experience is. And just feeling, for me, I'm feeling the contact on the floor. I feel some tingliness, some warmth. I can feel my socks kind of hugging my feet, a little bit of buzziness. And so I just sit and allow. I just notice what I notice. Good. And then we're going to move to the backs of our thighs And if you're sitting, this is what you'll probably be feeling. If you're lying down, just move to the backs of your thighs too. But we're sitting, you'll feel the pressure against the chair. And just allow yourself to notice whatever it is you notice. Mindfulness is paying attention and practicing not fighting with your experience, not resisting it, just allowing yourself to be with it. If anything turns out to be painful while you're doing this, what I encourage you to do is actually direct your breath into the area, and then on the exhale, extend that exhale, make it a bit longer. You're not trying to get rid of it, you're just meeting it like a screaming child wants to be heard or seen. We can comfort it by just going there for a moment. Good. Okay, so we're with the backs of our thighs and just noticing what we notice. Then shifting your focus to your seat as it rests on the cushion of your chair. And I notice right now that my legs were kind of tight, so now I'm relaxing my legs and my seat. So you might notice you can, oh, I can relax. With every exhale, it's an easy way to let go. That's the natural movement of our exhale. And then bringing your attention to your belly, a place where we get to digest all of life, some of it being food, but everything goes through here. So just maybe appreciating the lifting and falling of the belly breath. You're not trying to make it fancy. This is not like yoga, pranayama. We're just being with the breath as it is right now. But you're feeling the motion of breath. This is giving you something to attend to. Good. And then bringing your attention to your arms, your hands, your fingers, and really let them rest in your lap. And if you have a little pillow, just any little pillow, not right now, but I do recommend if you do sitting practice, I would put a pillow in your lap and just let your hands rest on that. It just takes any pressure off your shoulders, which is a good thing. So we're just letting these arms go. Their arms or hands. I know many conditions get us there. And so can we just let them be held right now in a caring, open attention? Good. And then shifting your focus to your jaw. So you have these two joints at the jaw, these TMJ joints. See if you can open your mouth oh so slightly and find a little space in these joints. Allow yourself to do this so you feel comfortable. And then bringing your attention to your eyeballs and really allow them to rest in the sockets where you don't add anything extra. Just let them be there. And you might notice it starts relaxing around your eyes, within your eyes. Just allowing them to be without any resistance. And if you tend to get sleepy, which definitely goes with meditation, you might need to lift yourself up, kind of like watering a plant. It just kind of perks up again and just kind of reconstitute yourself. Good. Good. So now I'd like you to bring your attention to your breath at your nose and just allow yourself to feel the breath going in and out. So you're not doing anything fancy. You're just letting yourself feel the breath as it moves in and out of the nostrils. And if and when, which it probably will, the mind starts wandering, starts thinking, just go, oh, thinking. And then gently, without judgment, bring yourself back to, at this moment, to our anchor of the breath at your nose. This is something we can use anytime, particularly if you feel harried, reactive, just really in the clutches of emotion, just stop, feel your feet, and then go to your breath and just breathe. And you can even, if there's a part of the body that's bothering you, you can even direct that breath in that direction. And then you can even extend, if it's pain, you can extend the exhale. So we're being with the breath at the nose. Good. And now I'd like you to drop that and just feel your body, your whole body, feet on the floor, and see if you can just imagine that you are opening up some more space around your body. So you're feeling your body in this bigger space. So you're creating some room. Because remember, when we react, we get tight. So let's open some room. Feel the ground, open some room, and just breathe with your body, and you'll notice different sensations, some pleasant, maybe some unpleasant. Can we just offer some room for that? You might notice you have commentary, thinking, come on back, okay? And now we're going to shift our focus to another anchor. And this is the anchor I wanted you to get familiar with, the anchor of listening. Because I find that, and particularly for those of you who suffer from bodily stuff, which some of you may, and then emotional stuff, and it feeds the bodily stuff, this can be really helpful. Sound is pretty neutral. And it can be very calming. I find when I have a very busy mind or a very reactive mind, listening can be really, really helpful. So what we're going to do is you're going to feel your feet on the ground. So reattend to your feet. And now, as I'm saying, to see if you can open up some space. I know this is a little weird what I'm describing, but if you feel kind of tight and narrow, see if you can just create a little more room. And then I'd like you just to sit here right now, and we're going to begin to just listen. We're not listening for anything. What I'm experiencing right now is a lot of quiet in this room. So I'm going to just enjoy the rest of quiet. But it might not be that way for you. You might hear the tick-tock of your clock. You might hear your own heart pounding. You might hear the person in the next room chopping vegetables or playing music. But allow yourself right now just to listen to the space right here in this room. And just if it's quiet, just breathe with the quiet. If there's a particular sound, let's say a tick-tock, just notice the movement of it, just like we notice the movement of the breath. We're going to just notice the movement of it. We're not going to stop it. We're going to notice it begins, it has a life, and it ends. And then there's a new beginning. And if there is no sound, enjoy that. Enjoy the quietude. So we're not trying to get anything. We're not trying to find any sounds. If sound arises, we can notice that. Then I'm going to invite you to open up to your dwelling within the confines of your home. If it's one room or if it's a whole house or apartment or whatever it is, and just open to all the sounds. And so you're not labeling, chopping, talking. You're just allowing yourself to feel the movement of sound, just like we feel the movement of our breath or the movement in our body. We notice that some sounds get stronger, they get weaker, they disappear, others appear. So we're just going to allow ourselves to open to the movement of sound. To maybe we can catch it at the beginning, the middle, and the end. Maybe we'll just get the end. Whatever we do. And if it's quiet, just enjoy the quiet. And I'm going to invite you to even include the outdoors. Maybe some of you will hear birds tweeting or planes going by or cars going by or people going by. So we're not labeling cars, people, planes. We're just feeling the movement of sound as it originates, it has a life, and as it ends. And if there is no sound, just enjoy the quiet between the sound. You might notice that you get pulled away into thought. I like this. I don't like this. Whatever commentary. And just notice thinking without judging. We attend and befriend. So we just come on back, just naturally knowing the mind likes to think. That's what it does. And we just come back to this present moment, resting and listening or hearing, however you want to say it. And knowing that we can do that when we go outside, we can just sit and listen to the symphony of life itself. We can do that in our home. We always can move to this idea of the anchor of listening. So now I invite you to come back and just notice the body and breathe with the body. You'll feel the body breathing you. And maybe it feels a little calmer, maybe not so much. Who knows? And then going back to very specifically the breath itself again. So these are all anchors. So the breath at your nose, you can always go to the nose, the chest, or the belly. Those are good places to choose. Just to feel breath movement to help focus. So that was your meditation today. You did a little of breath, body, and you also majorly used listening as our focus. So we're not getting into the content of what we're listening to. We're just feeling the movement of life as we do in the breath, we do in the body. We kind of do this with everything. That everything has a beginning, middle, and an ending. So there's possibility for change. And that's really important for ourselves and our minds to understand that. That's the good part. And yes, some of the things we love in life also leave us, but there's a possibility for other good things to arise as well. Okay, so I'd like to just get a sense from you all as to how that was for you, with a thumbs up or a can anyone put their fingers? Was that were you more calm? Were you not so much? I can't see everybody because I'm still in PowerPoint, but I see you too. So with the
Gloria, I'm going to let you know about 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so of course I have way too many things to teach you, but okay, so that was a real meditation. And I would suggest to start with 1 minute, which I'm going to teach you a 1-minute meditation in a moment. But also, because of the situation you find yourself in, I would say if you could work yourself up to 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes of practice in a day, that will really serve you over time, because that will help create those pathways to light up this part of the brain. And also in one of those studies, it's regarding Parkinson's, is that they showed that there was more gray matter in this part of our brain with people practicing for long periods of time. So the more regularity, the better. But just start with a minute, and you can do a minute throughout your day. And one of the ways we can do a minute, this is called informal practice, is called the stop technique. And this is something I use a lot, and I use it a lot with my partner so I don't go off on him. I can feel I'm getting emotional. I can feel I'm wrapped in something, and I just stop. I feel my feet. I take a few breaths. I need to feel your feet here. But excuse me. The stop technique is basically a mindful pause in your life. You just hit pause. So if you notice you're kind of caught in something, it's a great time to stop. Sometimes I like to just put a thing on my phone to ring every once in a while throughout the day randomly. And I stop and I notice, wow, I feel really good right now, which is really important also to notice when you feel good. We so notice when we don't feel good, but we need to put attention when we feel good too. So we stop. We stop. The S is to stop. The T is just take a couple breaths. And the O is to observe your experience. And you might notice, God, I'm really angry, da, 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 da. And you feel your experience. So you get a sense of, in the observation, you just notice what's happening, not why and all that stuff. Just notice what a direct experience, how you feel it, the kind of thoughts that are there, the feelings, and you just hold space for it. In other words, not judging yourself, you get a sense of where you are, because then you can skillfully get to proceed. Where if you notice you're really stiff, you could then go, oh, how I could proceed is today I want to make some plans to do some stretching. Or I realize I'm kind of lonely today. I need to make a plan to get together with a neighbor or call a friend, right? So there are different things we can do when we just stop to just get a sense of what's happening. And everybody can do that. And we do it without fighting. We actually, the observe part is probably the most challenging, but it's what you want to do, because that's where we can get the information we need to figure out how we do want to proceed. But also, as you saw in these slides, you can bring mindfulness just into your everyday life. You know, if we don't cook mindfully, we can chop off our finger. And I've come close to it. Trust me, it's not a good one. And, but we can walk to the bathroom mindfully, we can, just to help it. When we do things mindfully, it really brings us into present moment time. And it helps us be aware of our thoughts and our feelings. We get to see what's there, but we don't have to be caught in it. We're aware of it, so then we can come back and we can breathe with it, breathe with the feelings that arise. And that really helps things. It creates a lot of freedom and a lot more happiness. So one of my favorite activities these days, these are things I never used to like to do, is folding the laundry and making the bed. So I'm not sure what you can do, but just picking something simple that you do and slow it down a little bit and just really bring mindfulness to moving. So folding the laundry, I reach into the machine and I put it in the basket, and I smell it, I feel it, I look at it, I remember the rags that I have from when they were once something nice. I mean, it will bring up all sorts of interesting stuff that just comes, and it can make an activity that wasn't so enjoyable more enjoyable. And it gives you some micro hits to help create these pathways to help our brain be more mindful, help our life have more freedom from the habits that we tend to have. So I think on this note, since I have about another hour and a half worth of things to tell you, I think I'm going to stop the screen share. And and if any of you have any questions, Julia, are you going to read them to
Yes,
me?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Gloria. And we do have time for a few questions. So you can either put them into the chat box, or you can wave at me, or you can unmute, and Gloria can take some questions. There's a couple of comments that we have, which are, thank you, Gloria. You are glorious, sensitive, and encompassing. And another thank you. I enjoyed the meditation. So it seems like this has been very helpful. But any questions that you have for Gloria?
Someone I actually am going to interrupt for a moment. Someone wrote a question before this talk that I received, and it was, I don't know exactly what it was, but basically it was about a body that experiences the tremors and the rigidity sometimes. And I just wanted to say that the listening meditation could be giving you something else to pay attention to. So it's not like it isn't happening. It is happening. A way to get a little space from the direct hit of what's going on that's more involuntary, and gives you something you can concentrate on. And I think that could be quite useful. And also using these micro hits of just different activities, or using the STOP acronym that I just showed you, can be really, really helpful. And I just wanted to tell you about a study that to me is really relevant. There's a study done by Richie Davidson, who's a well-known mindfulness researcher at the University of Wisconsin, and he has a whole department about mindfulness. And um, he did a study in pain, everyone, and half the group were professional meditators. They were monks. And the other half of the group were lay people that had never had any mindfulness training. And what they were going to do is, it was a study about pain. And what they were going to do was they were going to induce heat. And they told all the participants that they'd ring a bell before they did the induction of the heat. It was only going to last a couple seconds and no worries. And it wasn't going to hurt anybody, but they would definitely feel the heat. And then, and they were all hooked up to all these probes, right? And so what happened was, as soon as the bell went off, the people who had no mindfulness training at all, you saw it go whoop, you saw it just zoom up the pain level, but just the bell had gone off. There was no heat yet, everybody. So then when the heat went off, the monks also pain level went up. It went up even higher actually than the lay people. And then as soon as the heat was down, the monks, their pain level went back to normal, just back to their base level. But the people that had no mindfulness training, theirs went on and on and on and on and on for a while. And so I asked myself, okay, what was going on with those people that wasn't happening with the monks? And basically they were going, oh my God, I can't believe I signed up for this. Who could pay me to do this? This is so horrible. And this all started as soon as they heard the bell. They didn't even have the heat. And I bring this study up because it's important to understand that how we deal with our circumstances can make things really harder for ourselves and for those around us, and can make it a little less hard, even though it's a difficult circumstance we find ourselves in. So when we realize, oh, I'm freaking out right now, can we just go back to your feet, feel the ground, open up a little space, and just start to breathe and come back into the present moment? You'll have more capacity to kind of make wiser choices, rather than when we keep ruminating about what those people did. They kept thinking about it, and they were like churning themselves, tightening more and more and more, and it wasn't even going on. And we all do that. Everybody does it. I do it sometimes. We all do it. We catastrophize. And so the idea here is to recognize that's happening and then try to come back to the present moment as best as you're able. So I bring up that study because to me it's a little snapshot of what we all do. And so we learn to be more kind, be more accepting, and to come back. But it is a practice, everybody. And you start each day like it's a new one, because it is. It's a new moment. It's new possibilities. Okay, now the questions, Julia.
Gloria, there's a couple of questions that we have here. When I do meditation, I often feel as if I am falling asleep. What can I do to stay awake?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I used to call it sleepitation. I did that a lot. Okay, one thing you can do is, if you're sitting in a chair, move to the front of your chair rather than give yourself the back to get nice and cushy into. Go to the front of your chair, so then you'll be sitting up on your own. If that doesn't work for you, you can do that. You can also pull on your ears, move your body around a little bit. We need more energy when we get sleepy. We're kind of going down with the ship. And so we need to bring some energy to the table. You might just open your eyes and do a soft gaze to the floor. You can also, if it's really bad, just if you can stand up, stand up. I have a friend who, that's how he does his meditation practice for an hour. He stands. Now, I can't stand for more than a minute or two. So I just go to the front of my chair. And sometimes you might want to do a little activity before you meditate, because that can bring you some energy. If it's active movement or whatever kind of stretching helps bring you a bit of energy. I was hoping to do some postures with you today, but time-wise did not allow it.
That'll have to be part 2, Gloria.
Okay.
I have a couple of other questions for you. Has anything been reported that movement can be easier when the mental chatter is turned off?
Okay, that's a really good question. So from a mindfulness perspective, the goal is not to turn off your mind. I know, like thinking gets a really bad rap in the meditation world. And the truth is, as human beings, we think. This is just what we do. So it's really not a problem about turning things off. What you're trying to be aware of when your mind is just off wandering, your job is to come back. So it's all part of the meditation. So there's nothing bad about your mind happening. Remember, I told you we celebrate when we notice it. Okay, but we don't berate ourselves. We just note, oh, this is thinking. And then you come back. Everybody has mind wandering. If you are not on a direct task, your mind's going to wander. For most people, this is what happens. And so the idea is to come back, to just keep coming back without the judgment, without the idea that somehow this should shut up, because it doesn't. Sometimes it does when you get really, really focused, but when you're beginning, it definitely doesn't. And I would also recommend use your feet to feel the ground.
Thank you,
Any,
Gloria. It looks like we have one more question, which is many people say when they try to meditate, their dyskinesias or their involuntary movements get worse. Do you have any suggestions for that?
It does happen. I know that it does happen, and it's really hard because then our emotions get stimulated. We start to tighten because we get into the story. And so, how you can start to work with that is that you notice the body doing it. You notice your judgment around it. You start to notice the mental stuff that's going on. I don't want this. Blah blah blah. Just think of the people in that study, and then you go, oh. This is thinking. This is some reactivity. This is unpleasant. You can just notice this is unpleasant, and then you gently come back. And the more you practice with coming back, it's true, your body's relaxing. And so all these involuntary things start happening, right? Because you're relaxing. But over time, you will find ways to hold that. And I really do recommend trying listening meditation because if it's bad meaning if it's really going to town, see if that's useful to just use another sense. We of course we'd all like to get rid of what we find we don't like, but we're in these conditions that we're learning to deal with them more skillfully. And also the one study, but as I said, we're only talking about 30 people, but the one study did say that they're noticing there's a reduction in the movements and the involuntary movements and things of that nature. So I really and start short. Start by doing the informal practice and then start with, okay, I'm going to do breath for a moment. I'm going to just listen for 1 minute. The person who stands for an hour, who's one of the smartest people I know, he started with 1 minute. I couldn't believe it. I went, really? You didn't just start by, I mean, I took the program, that 8-week program, and it started with 45 minutes. So, but just start with one and then increase.
Gloria, thank you. We are at that 12 o'clock hour, but I would definitely like to just, anyone who was unable to write into the chat box, if there's anyone that still has a question that they would like to ask, you may go ahead and unmute, say your first name and ask your question. I want to make sure I didn't not give everyone an opportunity to ask a question. All right, I think that sounds like you covered it all, Gloria. Once again, I'd love to just thank you so much for joining us today and for taking us through those practices. It's been a pleasure. I think we'll all give you a round of applause. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I
And
was going to say this is the Tibetan clapping.
we can all do that. Thank you very much.
I actually have one thing, two things I'd like to add just to give you some resource. I do work at the Mindful Awareness Research Center. It's also known as MARC, MARC at UCLA. And maybe you guys could put the link in so people can know. But there's an app that we have, and it's called UCLA Mindful. And it's a free app, and it has all sorts of meditations on there dealing with difficulty. And also, you might consider taking some of the classes. They're very affordable and they're really wonderful and so useful. And there's also another website called Unified Mindfulness. It's birthed out of Shinzen Young's work, who works a lot with pain. And they're actually having a free symposium over the next 5 days if you want to go to it. It's called Unified Mindfulness. And it's a very different approach than what we just did of mindfulness. He was a longtime teacher of mine, but he does work a lot with people in pain. So I was thinking that that too might be a resource that could be useful to you. And there's all sorts of people doing stuff. And it was really a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Thank you all for joining us today for a Let's Talk Parkinson's event. I'll just tell you a little bit about our upcoming events, but thank you, everybody. Our upcoming events include presentations on deep brain stimulation surgery on June the 3rd, and a report from Dr. Jeff Bronstein of UCLA on the latest in Parkinson's research on June 10th. Stay tuned to your email inbox for links to these events and news of all the other events and programs that we have. And then just to wrap up, Let's Talk Parkinson's is made possible by our sponsors, Abbott, AbbVie, Boston Scientific, Medtronic, Sanovian, and by you. By donating, you can join us in our mission to improve the lives of the members of our community who are living with Parkinson's disease, their care partners, and their families. PCLA is a non-profit and all donations are tax deductible. If you've enjoyed the Let's Talk Parkinson's series, please consider donating at pcla.org and help us continue our work. As always, you can reach out to us with questions at info@pcla.org or by phone 310-880-3143. We'll put that into the chat box. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and be mindful. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you, Gloria.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Gloria. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.